This is episode 252 of the Super League Pod. We get to recap a thrilling week of Super League upsets, comebacks and surprise hammerings. Which fan bases have their mojo back? Find out from your fan reviews. Which fan base is feeling déjà vu? Well, that's Warrington, but we've got fan reactions from that club too. Add in some Summer Bash recaps, some women's and wheelchair chat, and a Lancashire-Yorkshire history lesson, and you've got this week's SLP. So get strapped in, kids. It's SLP time. Hello listeners, welcome along to episode 352 of the Super League Pod. It is another Wigan Saints derby, as I'm joined this week by David in between all his holidays and trips. How are you doing, David?
I'm very good, thanks, Mark. It's nice to be home for a few days before I head off again at the end of this week. So, yeah.
Good stuff.
All going well. Rugby not going quite as well this week as everything else. But anyway, there you go.
Well, there needs to be something in your life that we're not all jealous of. So we'll take that for a while.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Do you want to tell us about our sponsor?
I will. Super League Pod is supported by Rob's Megastore. Rob's Megastore stocks a wide variety of toys, stationery, arts and craft ideas, pet accessories, books, and, of course, the famous Rugby League birthday cards. Search for Rob's Megastore on eBay or find the link in our episode blog post on superleaguepod.com. And SLP listeners can use the code SLP10, that's SLP in capitals 10 at the checkout to get 10% off any orders over £5, or enter SLP discount and give your 10% towards funding SLP's running costs instead, which we would be very grateful for.
Yep. So we've got recaps of round 21 of Super League coming up with fan views on all the games. There's some big results, wasn't there, up and down the table as we're getting towards the business end. So it's an interesting round again this week. Alan acts as our correspondent from the Bash because he's going to give us his take on everything that happened at Leeds when we get to those games in the rundown. Plus, we'll throw in all the bits of news and we'll cover everything that's happened in the last 7 days in Rugby League. We're going to start with a few little listener shout-outs and feedback. So some nice ones this week. Mark at Wilco2205 said, forgot to mention this last week, but congrats on making it to 350 eps. Still essential listening for me every week. Keep up the good work, guys.
Yeah, and David Hunter, thank you very much for that, Mark. And David Hunter at David DVDHNTR. Said with the tries trivia question, if they're going to count Championship and League One tries, then Bevan French should have his New South Wales Cup tries counted, as that is our second division. Not an unreasonable point.
Other than where the fuck do we get that info from? And also, it's not their second division, is it? Because it is their second division, but it's treated as a inferior kind of level of play, whereas Championship and League One, whilst they are lower down the ladder, are part of the same league structure, whereas the New South Wales Cup's kind of like a reserves division more than a lower down the ladder division, isn't it?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I reckon you should do a lot of research and get all those scores.
Like I say, where the fuck am I going to get those stats? But if David wants to do us a quiz on New South Wales Cup, then I'm sure no one will get any answers, but we'll all have a lot of fun.
Yeah, we would.
Alan Walker said, missed all the action this week. SLP makes it feel like I didn't miss a thing. I mean, if compliments... that's a compliment. I was very pleased with that one. It made me feel like what we do for a couple of hours every Tuesday night really does, make a difference for some people out there who want to keep in touch with all things rugby league. So thanks.
Absolutely. Neil Ormston said, just got to the end of last week's pod. I think a special recommendation for the RKC website is needed for Joshua's granddad so he can fact check his own quizzes. In response to the question of whether...
He put a winky face.
He did. He put a winky face. Sorry, I missed that out. Winky face. In response to the question of whether a Super League game has ever finished 24-11, the answer is no. But I'm not a fan of competition-specific stats, so I'll note that Whitehaven went to Barrow in the third division and won by that score on the 28th of March 2005, which is the only time it's been done in the summer era. The last time it was done in a top division was actually 1978 when Saints beat Salford. If only that could have happened this week. In the era of 3-point tries.
Yeah, what a timely contribution that we get to mention Saints against Salford this early in the show.
Let's get started on that, shall we?
Interesting stuff that from Neil. Yeah, I mean, summer era, 11 points is going to be more rare, and being on the losing side of 11 points feels like it'd be incredibly rare. So interesting to see that it has happened in the summer era before, but not in the Super League competition. So thanks, Neil, for that and for getting in touch and keeping us on top of those things. And as Neil says, there is a recommendation for the Rugby League Record Keepers Club. Always we'll mention those. The link to the Rugby League Record Keepers Club website is always in our episode blog post, actually. So if people want to get in touch like those guys have done by tweet or email or however on social media, it's at Super League Pod on Twitter and Instagram, or facebook.com/Super League Pod. You can email superleaguepod@gmail.com or visit superleaguepod.com to get the info on each episode and links to the Google Forms for your fan views so that we can share and discuss on the show. And that's where you will find a link permanently embedded in each weekly post for the Rugby League Record Keepers Club. Don't forget to subscribe in whatever podcast app you listen to us on as well, and leave a rating and review if you can. All helps make us more known. And thanks for the lovely feedback and info, guys. Great stuff as always from our listeners. We're now going to move into the Super League match reviews, where I think we're probably going to get some more great stuff from our listeners with fan views on all the games this week. Okay, David, let's get into round 21 of Super League with the Thursday night fixture. Do you know what I'm going to say? One of the least interesting fixtures of the weekend. Comfortable home win for Wigan Warriors against Hull Kingston Rovers. It was 20 points to 4 at half time, and it finished 46 points to 4. The crowd figure announced was 11,032, and Marcus Griffiths was the referee. Do you know, I'm going to say something about Marcus Griffiths. Someone the other week, I think it might have been Tom Andrews, sent in a match review saying just one sort of minor criticism that is quite poor at signalling to the crowd what a penalty was for. There were a couple of penalties in this game that I had to wait till I got home to find out what they were for. We were guessing, and we weren't always wrong, but we didn't know for sure until I went home and watched them on the television. So, just a bit of constructive feedback there for Mr. Griffiths. If him or his coaching people at the RFL are listening.
There we go.
In the team stats, 581 more metres, a 1.5 metres per carry better average game with 7 more breaks. Wigan won big and could have won bigger without 7 more handling errors. They got a bit loosey-goosey, didn't they, after they got 20-0 up. Wigan also had a very good 97% team tackle success rate, actually the highest by any side in a game so far this season. Only 815 metres and 88% team tackle success rate for Rovers, so, easy to see why they were thumped. On the numbers, what about individually?
So for the winners, Wigan, Liam Marshall, 3 tries, 1 try assist, 177 metres and 2 clean breaks. The rejuvenated Mike Cooper, a try and 136 metres. Morgan Smithies, 110 metres. Mark's favourite, Liam Farrell, 1 try assist and 109. For the losing side, Matt Parcell, 43 tackles. And Sam Royal, who's returning to Saints, I understand, this week, also 43 tackles.
Yeah, if things weren't bad enough for Hull KR, the player you'd signed on loan for the rest of the season, now will not play for you again this season either.
Yep.
In terms of fan reviews, Always in Our Shadow said, second gear, too good for second-class KR. Brief involvement showed his lack of interest with the French try before his obligatory lie on the floor and walking off. Game won early doors and Q racked, hashtag since 1985.
Coming up, Roses. Glad for the win after last week. Need to stop the silly overplays. Can really cost at times. Hopefully we can do the double over that sour-faced Yorkshire shite. Looking forward to Friday.
He means Darryl Powell, doesn't he, I think?
I think so.
Esther said, game all over very early and Wigan stopped trying as hard. KR young kids tried hard but simply not good enough at the end of the day. Coot having a mare until he fails his HIA. So overrated. Yeah, I heard that on one of the commentaries, I think, for this game. Someone has said it's not like Coot to stay down. And Q, absolute, side-splitting laughter from across the country.
Indeed. Although he did fail his HIA, didn't he? And,
yeah, he did. Yeah.
He's now. I think he's out for a game.
He is. Yeah, 11-day protocols now, isn't it?
Yep, that's right. I tell you what, given the state of our back line at the moment, I'd have him back at the drop of a bloody hat. Matt Speakman says, once again, a win by 40 points that leaves you thinking it could have been more. Fair play to KR. Very weird to hear replaced by nobody. Sorry.
Yeah, you read it right.
KR. Right. Fair play to KR. Very weird to hear replaced by nobody on the tannoy.
Yeah, well, one of the youngsters got injured late on in the game. There was about 3 minutes left, maybe, I think. Danny Maguire decided not to bring a substitution on to replace the man who went off.
You won't be surprised, Mark, that with about 15 to go, I decided I'd had quite enough of wicked trans Hull KR. We've had similar periods with 13, 14, 15 first teams out, so it's tough. Difficult game versus Wire next week expected. Missing quite a few players and both nines, and they keep getting in winning positions.
That missing both nines refers to Sam Powell's expected to be out for up to a month with a foot injury that he picked up in this game. I couldn't really tell that he was hugely injured. He sort of limped off a little bit, but it didn't seem like he was. It felt more like 20-0 up that we were just taking him off because we didn't need him on. But no, and backup hooker Brad O'Neill, he's facing a 2-game ban, isn't he? For a ban picked up in a reserve fixture against Wakefield the other week where he ran behind the referee and the referee walked backwards into him as he was running behind the referee. So he made contact with a match official, and obviously that's been stamped down on pretty hard this year. Wigan have, I think, appealed that, so we haven't had anything out officially from the RFL to say how that appeal has gone, so I can't imagine they'll overturn both games of it. They might downgrade it potentially, but I don't, from a grade C, but I don't think that it'll be completely written off. Pop the Viking said, Wigan back to winning ways. Some great tries from Wigan, who were the better team on the night. KR will be sweating on some players who went off with some big games to come.
Indeed. Tom Andrews says, simultaneously better and worse than expected. Better in the effort shown, namely Ryan Parcell-Lytton.
PLT
looked exciting and hopefully gets a full game against Toulouse. On the negative, 4 more injuries. When does it stop? This bloody relentless. Funny watching Page's disappointment as French only scored 3.
Yeah, we spread them out on both wings, didn't we? With a hat-trick on both wings in this one. Lachlan Coote, you said, misses next week's game after failing HIA. It seems like one of the players who would act as his deputy, Will Dagger, is out for the season with a ruptured Achilles. That was a shame for him. He kind of came out enough in that injury, didn't it? When he was looking to make a break, clearly didn't have the pace to cover Bevan French, and then just sort of pulled up halfway through the tackle with no clear indication. When you watch the replay back, it looks like he's felt it just before he got tackled. But shame one for him. It looked innocuous. There was the couple of young players as well who picked up injuries in the game too. So it is. They are doing it tough. It does sound like they're going to get a few players back for next week's game against Toulouse. So we'll talk about that later on. But in terms of this one, you said you turned off with 20 minutes or so left. I think there was a times where Wigan turned off during the game. I thought it was I came out of this game thinking it was a pretty poor game. And
it was very routine. Wigan were just better all over the field from the get-go.
Has to be expected as well with what FKR were able to put out. No, like, criticism there, really. Wigan flew out of the box, didn't we? But blocks. We scored some good tries.